Good morning, Eights. This is Mr. Westra with Half Brother 26, part number 1. So the last time we read, Zan is at the ranch, the new chimp colony, and they are trying to introduce Zan to some of the other chimps so that Zan can get some protection from some of the adults. They introduced her to Sheba, and she crushed Zan's favorite G.I. Joe. There was also a birthday party for the oldest chimp named Sam. They had a chocolate birthday cake, and they gave it to Sam, the chimp, first, which made Zeus, the alpha male chimp, really upset, and so upset that Halsin had to have a pellet gun and shot at Zeus a few times to calm him down, and that's where we pick up the story. Later that day, we took Zan out to the east paddock again. Just me and Peter and Mum and Dad. Zan played in the low branches of the trees, tried to catch the fish in the pond. He seemed happy. Maybe he thought this was just a new home for all of us. He wasn't crazy about the cage part, or the other chimps, or black dogs, but he liked being outside. "We can't leave Zan here," I said. My insides felt empty of anything but anger. "The other chimps are awful. They'll kill Zan." "The paperwork's been done, Ben," Dad said. "Siegel University owns Zan now." "You've seen some pretty harsh stuff," Peter said. "It's been hard on me, too. I mean, before Project Zan, I knew nothing about chimps, and Zan taught me about baby chimps. The bigger ones are different, I know." "I hate them all," I said. "Zan has nothing in common with them." "He will, though," said Mum. It surprised me coming from Mum. It was the sort of thing I thought Dad would say, but Mum's face was kind when she said it. "He'll learn he's one of them, and they'll accept him." Peter said to me, "The other chimps, they really are okay. The second day I got here, one of them died. It was Petra. She was kind of the matriarch. She'd been around the longest, and she'd been sick for a few months. And when she died, they let her lie in her cage for a while. It was Mrs. Helson's idea. She thought it was good for the others to be able to see her dead and say goodbye. Well, it was Jack's idea, too. He wanted to see what they'd do with the dead body. Probably hoping they'd eat it," I muttered. Mum was listening closely. This was the kind of thing she'd been interested in all along. "What happened?" she asked Peter. "It was amazing," he said. "Some of the other chimps wouldn't go in at all, but almost all the females did. And they tried to wake her, lifting her arms and stuff. Some of the younger ones filled their mouths with water and tried to put it in hers. Then after a while they just sat around her and groomed her, and they were crying. They were making their sad faces and pant hoots and stroking her fur. Grieving," said Mum. "Absolutely," said Peter. "They care about each other. It's hard for some of them, because they came from all sorts of different places and families, so it's difficult for them to feel loyalty. But when they do, it's phenomenal to see." He looked at me. "So don't write them off as monsters yet." "Yeah, all right," I murmured. "What about Halsin?" Mum asked, Dad looking at Dad and then Peter. "He's a bit weird. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's strict, but he knows how to take care of the chimps. It's better than medical research," Dad said. "Way better," Peter agreed. I looked at Zan, swinging from a low branch and hooting for me to join him. He still liked to keep us close. "I don't think he's safe here." "I'll take care of him," Peter said. "Jack said we can come back in the summer and visit. See how he's doing," Mum told me. "Really?" I looked at Dad. He didn't say anything. "As soon as school gets out," Mum said, "we'll come back. That's just 2 months." I nodded, feeling a little better. The next day, Halsin agreed to introduce Zan to Rachel. She was 8 years old, large and squat, and one of the quietest chimps in the colony. Peter said she was sort of like Zan because she'd grown up with a human family for about 10 months. One of Halsin's cross-fostering experiments. Language had no part of it. He just wanted to see what it did to the chimps and the people, especially the woman, who wasn't sure she wanted to have children of her own. After the humans were finished with Rachel, they'd returned her to Halsin, and she had a hard time fitting back into the colony. She was okay with a few of the chimps, but was mostly a loner. We got her in the cage next to Zan and opened the tunnel. Just like the first time, the chimps ignored each other in their separate cages for a good long time. But then, to my surprise, it was Zan who walked through the tunnel to Rachel. He sat down a few feet away and every so often shuffled a little closer. Rachel avoided even looking at him, but when she finally did, Zan signed to her. Come hug. Rachel sat still. I swallowed, remembering what Sheba had done to Zan. Come hug Tickle, Zan signed, very slowly and clearly. No reaction from Rachel. Slowly, his head bent low, Zan walked on all fours to Rachel and touched her hand. She let him. Before long, she was touching his fingers, grooming them. Zan crawled up into her lap. I held my breath. Rachel put one arm around Zan, and they stayed like that for the rest of the afternoon. On our last day, we saw Zan in the afternoon. He'd spent the night in Rachel's cage, and there hadn't been any problems. Peter was really happy about that. We'll leave them together for a few more days, and then introduce an adult when we think it's safe. Okay, I said. I wasn't really taking much in, because I knew in less than an hour we'd be leaving for the airport. He's a survivor, Peter told me. He'll be fine, I promise you. I truly believed Peter would do anything he could to take care of Zan, but it seemed pretty obvious that Helson was running things. Could Peter even go against his wishes? You've got the suitcase, right? I said. Peter nodded. It was in his apartment. Helson wouldn't allow the blankets and toys in Zan's cage anymore, but Peter said he'd try to let Zan play with them when they were outside, just the two of them. We took Zan for one last walk to the field. We thought it would be easier. This way we wouldn't have to say goodbye to him in a cage. Zan and I played around in the low branches and looked at the fish, and pretty soon it was time to go. Peter made sure to have a treat ready for Zan so we could slip away one by one. He'd brought ginger ale and cake. Peter shook Peter's hand. Thanks, Peter, for all your help on this. I'm sure it won't be long before I'll be addressing you as Doctor. Peter chuckled. Thank you, but that's a ways off yet. I'm not sure Zan even noticed Dad leaving the paddock. Mom had a good tickle with him, and then she too slipped away. This isn't going to be easy, man, Peter said to me. I know. Remember, you're coming back in 8 weeks. Can I call you? So I know how he's doing? Absolutely. Your dad and Mom have my phone number. Anytime, honest, just call me. His eyes looked moist, and I knew that if I saw him cry, I'd start bawling, and then getting away from Zan would be hopeless. I looked at Zan, eating happily. I didn't want to trick him into running off somewhere, like that time in the cage. I went over and we had a good long hug and tickle, but I didn't say goodbye. Then Peter got him interested in some horses Helson kept in the neighboring field. I walked fast for the gate. I felt like a great rip had opened up inside me from belly to breastbone. I hadn't known such pain was possible. I didn't talk to my dad all the way to the airport or on the phone or on the plane home. I wasn't going to talk to him for the rest of my life. He'd just left my little brother in a cage.